Welcome to class. My name is Lisa Mars. Today we're just going to be doing a slow and steady beginner's practice. We're going to be focusing on some alignment just to get us into a pose thoroughly instead of trying to rush through anything. So to get started, we're going to grab our props. Today we're using 2 blocks, a strap, and a blanket. I always recommend props regardless of the level that you're at, because they always make everything a little bit more accessible and they're humbling too. So we're going to take the 2 blocks and we're placing them at the back of our mat because we're going to lay down on them. The first block we're taking on the medium height, and you're going to place it about maybe 1.5 feet away from the end. And then we're taking the second block on the higher height. It's like about 6 to 8 inches away from each other. You'll base it on your body. Everyone's a little bit different. But basically the idea is that the first edge of the first block lies right underneath your scapula, right underneath your shoulder blades. So if you slowly line up your back, you find that sweet spot where the first edge hits the bottom part of your shoulder blades. And then as you roll back, the scapula come flat onto the block so that they're supported, and then the head rests gently on the back. And then from here we'll take our legs straight. Depending on your preference, you can keep them relatively straight in front of you, or you can take them a little wider. Kind of feels nice to let them go wider, let the feet fall apart, let the knees roll away, and let your hips sink. From here we're going to take our arms out wide to a T with the palms up, and then gently just bend the elbows so that you start to come into this nice wide chest opener. And the hips just sit neutral, the belly does the same. You'll feel an expansion in the chest and in the front part of your torso. And from here is where we start to find our breath. So you allow the head to get really heavy here. That allows the neck to get super soft, which is what we're aiming for. And then you picture your shoulder blades and your shoulders just taking form of this block. So allow them to soften a little bit, especially in the front, and then see if they can soften and sink back just a little bit more. And then from here, just close your eyes and take a few breaths. It's always good to recenter yourself and recalibrate from whatever you were doing before class so that you can steady the mind and we can focus better during our practice. Here we're going to leave the body exactly where it is. Everything pretty soft and sinking down. And we'll take a small breathing exercise here. So we'll empty out the belly, push it all out. And then you're going to inhale through the nose, fill up the entire chest and belly and feel the lift, feel the expansion, hold it. And then we open the mouth, release it out, let the body sink, everything fall back. Push it all out again, and then on your next inhalation, fill up really big, and when you get to the top of your breath, hold it. Let the elbows soften, the shoulders soften, the face, and then open the mouth, release, push it out, let the body sink. One more time, just like that. Inhale, hold, and open the mouth, release. Good. From here, you just bring a little bit of movement back into the fingers and toes. And gently roll your wrists and ankles, getting any cracks or any pops out that just feel good. Flex and point. And then we'll inhale, reach the arms up overhead. You can bring the feet together, interlace the hands if that feels good for you, and just take a stretch if you're just waking up. Good, and then an exhale to bring the arms back down by your side, this time palms face down. We're going to slide the knees up so the soles of the feet come onto the mat. And to get off the blocks really mindfully and easily, you roll your body to the right and just fall off of them as if they're not even there. And just lay on your side for a moment as your right hand is underneath your head and your left hand is in front of you. And you lay here just for a moment in the fetal position to kind of curl up, and it just feels really good. again, with the blocks behind you, you can kind of just reach back and push them out of the way, and then we're gonna roll onto our backs. For those of us with tight lower backs, it's definitely wise to keep the knees up. If it's not a problem for you, of course, you can bring the legs straight. I'm gonna keep the knees up just because it just feels better. Give your hips a second. So now that we're flattening out, we can give our spine a second to just, again, recalibrate, recenter, let it go back to a neutral position. And there's no rush here. A little slight tuck of the chin, and then just creep the scapula again towards your tailbones a bit. Try to lengthen out in the neck a bit. Slowly from here, we're going to bring the knees in towards the chest. And you can grab either the back of your thighs or the front of your shins, whatever feels better for you. And the legs can stay, about hip width apart, and just gently pull the knees in towards the chest. Again, there's a slight tuck of the chin here. Basically just want to feel the entire torso lengthening out, getting nice and long. And if you find that your tailbone does roll up, see if you can bring it down. Try to get the sit bones as close as you can to the floor. And then it's from here that you pull the knees in. So we get into the hips a little bit here. Okay. Then we're going to straighten the right leg all the way to the floor. And gently hug the left knee in. Again, grabbing either the front or the back. This time we'll bring it in a little closer. Again, trying to lengthen out in the lower back. Good. And then we'll bring the knee right above the hip. We'll take the right hand to the outside of the left leg, and the left arm comes out to a T, palm face down. From here, take a nice big inhale. And on the exhale, you twist over, twist. I'm not gonna lie, a bug just flew up my nose.
Perfect time.
Oh my god. Okay. Sorry. I wonder if that's on camera. Because I swear I took a breath in and I saw it go. Alright, so we'll bring the right hand to the outside of the left leg. The left arm down, palm faces down. Big inhale. And then exhale, we twist over to the right. Trying to keep that left shoulder down. Right, so if it does roll up a little bit, see if you can encourage it back down. And then from here is where you take that right hand that's on the leg and gently guide the leg down. There's a hollowing out here of the belly. See if you can bring the navel in towards your spine, and then it can allow you to roll back a little bit. And you can gently look to the left if that feels good. Bring the right shoulder down away from your ear. You can even get a little bit of neck stretch going. And then we inhale first, and exhale, you roll back up towards center. And we'll straighten out the left leg first, and then we'll bring the right leg in for the second side. So let's just hug the right knee in first. Feeling now this side versus the other side, sometimes they do feel different. So left hand to the outside of the right leg, right arm reaches out to a T, palm faces down. Inhale here. And then exhale again, gently drop the leg over to the left, keeping the right shoulder down, so the right leg probably won't go all the way to the floor. It's better to be mindful about the shoulder and try to get a twist. And then you just breathe here. Sometimes it's harder to breathe in a twist because of where we're constricted. You do your best, just being aware of where it is. And then inhale first, and exhale, we roll back up towards center. And then we'll bring the left leg up just to meet the right one more time. Squeeze it in, make it feel good. And now from here, you can just drop your legs over to the right, you can release them. And we're gonna come to sit up, so push into the left hand. From here, we'll find a nice comfortable seated position. For those of us with tight hips, or even in the knees, it's always best to sit on something. I even find it comfortable regardless. So you can sit on a blanket, you can sit on a block, you can sit on 2 blocks. It doesn't really matter, as long as the hips are a little bit lower, as long as the knees are a little bit lower than the hips. And then so from here, we'll just bring our hands to heart center just for a moment. Bow your head. Take a moment in silence just to send out a little intention or a little gratitude towards something higher than yourself. the arms up. And on the exhale, you can walk your hands out in front, keeping a nice sturdy back, not too stiff, but sturdy. And just walk the hands, shoulders come down. We're gonna look down towards the hands, or wherever the sternum is facing is where we're looking. And you wanna push into the hands to get the hips back, and then see if you can get a little bit more length there. And you just take it to wherever it feels good. Tucking the chin just a little bit too, to get a nice long back of the neck. And then you inhale first, and exhale, we'll walk the hands back in. Good. So we'll grab one of our blocks here, and we're gonna place it at first to the right. And it's about 6 to 8 inches. You can test drive by putting the elbow and forearm down and noticing if the hip rolls up, then you're too far. And if you're too close, the shoulder will come into your ear. So you'll find that happy medium place where you can lean and keep the opposite hip grounded. All right, so we've got our right arm down, left hip grounded. Let's inhale, reach the right arm up and away. And on the exhale, we reach it up and over. So we get a nice side stretch here. So the arm will indicate where the stretch goes. And then you can look down if that feels better on your neck, or you can look underneath the left armpit. And you just breathe, encouraging the hip down, encouraging the ribs up. And with every breath, you can feel the expansion in the ribs, create more space. And then inhale and exhale here. And then you push off that left arm, right arm. Inhale, both arms up. And exhale, arms down. So I was just saying, I teach opposite. Is that okay? Should I be doing the, like I used my left, but to you guys, it's your right?
Yeah, I think that's actually.
Is that better?
Yeah. Whatever you were just doing, it made sense to me. So.
Sorry. Okay. So then we'll bring the block over to the left now. And we'll line it up the same way. So you can take a second, find a good place for it, right? No rush. It's better that we line it up so that it's a better and more thorough stretch. So you bring the left elbow and forearm down first, palm faces forward, and then we root now the right hip down. And you can already start to feel a stretch going on the right side of the ribs. So from here, we'll inhale, reach the right arm up, and on the exhale, reach all the way up and over. So you find where it just feels good for you, and you'll feel it. You can take the arm wherever it is, and now encourage those shoulders down. You kind of broaden through the collarbones, and then you can look down, or you can look under the armpits, whatever feels better on your neck. And then you just breathe here. Really reach through the fingers, spread the fingers, active hands, active arms. Good, and on your next inhale, you're gonna push off the left arm, inhale both arms up, and exhale arms down. Nice. So we'll remove the block, and we'll come off the blanket. And from we'll bring the feet again hip width apart, set up nice in our Tadasana like we did the past couple times. Inhale, reach the arms up, and exhale to bend the knees, swan dive forward. This time bend the knees so much that the hands come down. Inhale to lift the chest, and on the exhale, we're gonna step the right leg back. Good. So you want it pretty wide. You can kind of, again, heel toe that leg back, and then drop your right knee and drop the top of your right foot. So what's most important here is that your left ankle and your left knee are in one line. Sometimes there's a tendency to roll over it. This is problematic, and then there's also not that great if you have a wider angle. So you want to find that good alignment here with the knee and the ankle in the same line. From here, we're going to bring at first our hands onto the knees. Inhale and exhale. And then let's bring our hand up to the thigh so we get a little bit of height. Inhale and exhale here. And from here, we're just leaning into the front right hip flexor. It's a really tight area for most people. So you just take it to where it feels good. You don't want to ever go past your comfort zone, but you can teeter on the edge. And that's where you'll find a little bit of growth. So you find your edge, wherever feels good, and then see if you can soften it. Right? So the point of kind of holding these poses is that so over time we can start to open them, but so that we just soften them. We're not trying to tug and lure anything open. A stretch isn't so much a pull, it's more of a release. So you just kind of release your hip flexor here. And again, being aware of the breath, any sensations coming up, sometimes the heart rate can get faster here. Again, even though we're not moving that much. Good, so we're gonna bring our right hand down to a block. And any setting works. You can even use the floor, just like the block, it just gives me more height. And I like the flat setting. Of course, any setting that works for you works. Bring the right hand down. And at first, you just work at getting your left shoulder back. So you can bring your hand right onto your hip, or you can keep it on the knee at first, whatever helps you get the left shoulder back and the chest to face the left leg as much as you can. Be aware of the right wrist, you don't want to fall too much into it. There's a little pull up out of the right arm. Good, so just take a gentle twist here. And then inhale, reach the left arm up. And exhale. And then inhale again. And exhale, left hand comes back down to the floor. You can get rid of the right block just for a second. So from here, we're going to bring our hips back and we're going to start to straighten out the front left leg. So the blocks are definitely going to come into good use here. We're going to have both of them on the highest setting. So at first, you want to get your right leg in line. You can always tuck the toes. It's okay for balance, or if it just feels better on your ankle. And then make sure that your knee and your hip are in one line. So we're not trying to roll back. We're actually going to stay forward on the hip. So gently, let's bring the left hip back, right hip forward, so that we kind of balance out the hip bones, right? We're trying to square them off. You can bring your hands down onto the blocks or up. From here, we're going to straighten out the left leg. Bring the toes up towards the ceiling. Take a big inhale first. And on the exhale, you just bring your chest forward, right? Leave the head back. Your hips are reaching back. You're actually trying to get a little back bend here. Nothing too crazy, but the stretch will come from the torso reaching forward and the chest dropping down. You're going to feel this tremendous stretch in the back of your left leg. It could even go from your ankle all the way up through the glutes and up to the lower back. But you won't get that stretch if you're round here. So there's no point in rounding and falling forward. The stretch is going to come from reaching the hips back, the chest forward, and then just looking wherever your sternum faces, right? So there's no cringing of the neck here. Nice open back. And this is pretty intense. It's definitely a heat building pose. So you just breathe through it. Noticing what comes up. Not trying to control anything except for maybe a slow breath. But just trying to soften again so that it can open. Good. So we're going to walk the blocks forward for a second as you roll forward onto your front left leg. And then we're going to take the left leg back just a bit so that we can come off the blocks and that we're square now. Good. So we're going to take the left hand to the left hip. Inhale, reach your right arm up. The palm faces to the right. And on the exhale, we're going to take a twist, bringing the back of your right hand to your left leg. Good. So then from here, you take a nice big inhale. And on the exhale, you just take your sternum to wherever it faces, right? And if it's not enough for you, you can always bring the elbow to the knee. It's kind of nice to stay up here because it's easier to breathe. So sometimes when we come down, there's a tendency for everything to get small here. You can pull up, out, make sure there's space between your chest and your leg. It's kind of just nice to stay up though. Good. And then we look forward first. Inhale. Exhale, hands down to release. And from here, we're going to bring the left leg back. And in our tabletop, you can remove the blocks if they're in your way. You can inhale here. And exhale, we're just going to sit back and to child's pose just for a moment. If child's pose feels good for you. So you can always come onto the elbows. Try and get your head down. You can just bring it to a block. And arms can come back by your side, palms face up. This allows your shoulders to roll forward. It just feels nice. So wherever your rest pose is, take a rest here. Right, come back to the breath, come back to your heart rate, come back to any sensations going on, and just let everything settle for a second. Breathing, releasing. everything, come back to kind of a point A, point zero, recalibrating. Slowly, we're going to come back up onto all fours on an inhale. And on the exhale, let's bring the right leg forward now. Good, so we'll set up for the second side. We'll get our blocks. But at first, we're going to bring the hands onto the knees. And then we'll bring our hands onto the thigh. And in order to lean here, you might have to scoot the left leg back a bit. Because again, if you're having the right knee over the ankle, you've gone too far. So you just find whatever placement is good for your hips. And feet are flat on this one. Yes, feet are flat. Good, so we have our hands on our thighs. Try to get the left hip forward, right hip back just a bit. And then again, falling gently into that left hip flexor. You can even start to feel it throughout your psoas and deep into the ab tissues, through the hip flexor, into your quad. Right, it's a pretty big front body stretch here. And just try to breathe through it, right? You can send your breath. Try to imagine it going to the places that kind of need it the most. Good, so we'll take the block underneath the left hand like we did on the opposite side. And at first we'll bring our right hand to the right hip. And then just inhale, take a gentle twist to the right. And exhale, maybe look by that right arm, or you can always look down, but be careful not to fall into that left shoulder. Gently pull up out of it. Good. The right leg's going to want to sprawl over to the right. Just gently keep it in. Good. And then inhale, reach the right arm up. And exhale, we'll bring it back down. So you can bring your hands now onto both blocks. And we're going to walk the blocks back and start to straighten the front right leg now for the runner's lunge on the second side. So foot can be tucked here. Again, this is a balance thing, so wherever it's better for you. But again, knee and hip are in one line, and that's where they'll remain. So we inhale here, lift the chest forward. And on the exhale, you bring the hips back, kind of create a little back bend, and reach your chest forward. Good, and then the more you spread through the right toes and lift them up towards the ceiling, in combination with the arch in our back, you'll get a huge stretch, right, in the back of your right leg now. And it can go the entirety of the leg, even up through the glute and your lower back. So it's kind of nice to sit here for a moment and let everything sort of settle in, release, maybe open up just a bit. Always a little slight tuck of the belly button in towards the spine, right? We never want to let that kind of hang. I know sometimes it's easy too. Good, and then from here to release, you just come back to a neutral spine, walk the blocks forward, roll back onto the front right foot, and then we'll just scoot it back a bit. So now we're all square here, setting up for that twist. Good. So from here, let's bring the right hand to the waist. Inhale, reach your left arm up, palm faces to the right. And on the exhale, you can bring your back of the right hand to your, left hand to your right leg. Or you can always bring the elbow, but just be mindful of where you're at. You just want a gentle twist here. Try to get the left hip forward just a little bit, right hip back, and more of the belly button to turn towards the right within reason. And you can look over the right shoulder if that feels good. Not, you can always look forward. One more inhale here. And then exhale, we'll look forward to release. Hands come down. We'll get the blocks out of the way. From here, we're going to tuck the back left toes. Inhale here. And on the exhale, lift your hips and just scoot back for downward facing dog. Knees bent, hips up, chest reaching towards the thighs, arms straight, and your head gently reaching towards the earth, right towards your hands. Try to get that long neck. Navel in towards the spine, pulling upward energy, right, Mula Bandha. to all fours. And then you can sit back in child's pose. Take a rest here. And if child's pose isn't a good rest for you, you can always come on to your belly. You can bring the hands underneath the head. The toes come together and the heels fall apart, because I understand that child's pose is not for everyone. So your rest pose might be completely different from someone else's. So a good variation is to come onto the belly, kind of just let the hands fall, sorry, your head fall into your hands. So from child's pose, we're going to take the arms out in front of us, and slowly we're going to roll forward, come onto the belly. So we're going to start with a little Sphinx pose, which is a nice gentle back bend. We're going to take the feet flat. The feet are about, again, hip width apart, maybe a little closer, but definitely not wider. And from here, sorry, we're on our bellies. We bring our hands by our side. To inhale, lift the chest up, and then you slide the elbows forward, kind of like a sphinx. So the elbows, it depends on your back, can be underneath the arms. They can definitely be more forward. This is more gentle. So you can find whatever feels good for you. It doesn't matter as long as the elbows are in line with the shoulders, right? They're not sprawling out or not falling down. As long as they are all in line, it doesn't matter where the elbows are. Good. So take a second just to bring some attention to your glutes and your thighs, and notice if they're tense. And if they are, release them. Because there's a tendency here to kind of squeeze everything in, but that can kind of hurt the SI joints, so we're going to stay away from that. So you can allow the heels to go a little wider, and that'll kind of inwardly rotate those legs so that they kind of release a little bit. And from here, you're going to inhale, look forward, and on the exhale, just look to the right. And then inhale, look forward, and exhale, we look to the left. And inhale, look forward, and exhale, tuck your chin. And we're going to stay here for a few breaths. So in the Sphinx pose with our chin tucked, you can feel a really good stretch in your upper back. You want to bring the elbows, there's like an imaginative pull back of the elbows. They're not moving, but there's an engagement here to allow the shoulders to really creep away from the ears, and again, the scapula to go down your back. So there's a little engagement here of the elbows. Again, always trying to spread through your clavicle bones, the chest bones, and then the chin tucked. You can really let it hang while you gently pull the shoulders away. Feel a good stretch here. Good, and then slowly inhale, lift the head up. And on the exhale, we're going to bring our hands behind us so the palms face up. We'll bring our left cheek to the mat first. Bring the toes together, and then really let the heels go wide so that the kneecaps kind of roll in towards one another. And you can allow your hips and your lower back to really release here. And just take a couple breaths. Good, so from here we're going to bring our chin